Welcome to Key Review 10, Group Process, Structure, Interaction, and Effective Leadership. First, how do we balance structure and interaction within the group process? Structure is the framework that keeps work on track. Goals, agendas, roles, rules, ground rules, decision methods, and time plans. For example, a chair that posts a 45-minute agenda, assigns a timer, and sets 2 minutes per update. Interaction is the give and take that generates ideas and commitment, discussion, turn taking, listening, questioning, and feedback. For example, members might riff on each other's ideas, asking clarifying questions, and building a consensus. The balance test is when we have too much structure, we might have rigid or low creativity. When we have too much interaction, we have scattered and off-task results. An effective group blends both structure and interaction. To review, structure is the framework, interaction is the give and take, and you need both to have an effective group process. What are John Dewey's 5 steps to reflective thinking in group problem solving? Identify and define the problem, analyze the problem, generate creative solutions, select the best solution, and take action. In identifying and defining the problem, we clearly state the problem, often as a question, using the 5 W's and 1 H framework. In other words, who, what, when, where, why, and how. For example, what should we do about our declining customer satisfaction? In analyzing the problem, we gather facts, identify causes, stakeholders, and constraints. We establish clear criteria for a successful solution. For example, a solution must meet budget, adhere to deadlines, and improve customer retention by 10%. In generating creative solutions, we brainstorm a wide range of options without initial evaluation. We focus on quantity and building on ideas. For example, let's list every possible way to improve customer satisfaction, no matter how wild. In selecting the best solution, we compare the generated options against your established criteria. We decide on the optimal solution through consensus voting or expert input. For example, which option best satisfies our criteria for budget, timeline, and customer retention? And finally, we have take action, where we develop a clear action plan, assign owners, set deadlines, identify necessary resources, and plan for follow-up checks. For example, Sarah will lead the new feedback survey by next Friday, and John will implement the changes by end of month. To review, we have identify and define the problem, analyze the problem, generate creative solutions, select the best solution, and take action. How can we differentiate between traditional brainstorming and the nominal group technique, or NGT? With traditional brainstorming, we usually have a free flow of verbal idea sharing at a rapid pace, no evaluation. We encourage piggybacking. We record everything. We have a time limit. And it's best when a group is comfortable speaking up and status differences between group members are low. An example rule might be, say it out loud, we'll sort it out later. In nominal group technique, by contrast, we have silent individual writing of ideas, a round robin sharing to record, a clarification without judgment, a rank voting to prioritize. This is best when you need equal input to reduce dominance or include quieter group members. An example rule here for NGT is write first, 1 idea per turn, then we score. A key difference is brainstorming is spontaneous talk first, while NGT, or nominal group technique, is think and write first, then a structured sharing and ranking. So what is groupthink and what are the key symptoms? Well, groupthink is a faulty sense of agreement where members suppress doubt to keep harmony, leading to poor decisions. Key symptoms include apathies towards the task, belief the group can't succeed, over-reliance on high credibility members, a very persuasive member steering outcomes, and a climate that discourages challenge. Apathy towards the task might look like, whatever, just pick something. Belief the group can't succeed might look like, this won't work anyway. Over-reliance on a high credibility member might be, if Pry is for it, we're done. A very persuasive member steering outcomes could lead to others stopping evaluation. In a climate that discourages challenge, You might hear, let's not nitpick, agree, and move on. So, what are some key antidotes to the symptoms of groupthink? We can invite dissent, our devil's advocate, use decision criteria, seek outside input, and examine risks before locking in. So, to review, groupthink is where we have a faulty sense of agreement, and it might look like apathy towards the task, the belief that the group can't succeed, over reliance on high credibility members, a very persuasive member steering outcomes, and a climate that discourages challenge. What are the different leadership approaches? We have trait, functional, styles, situational, and transformational. The trait approach focuses on a leader's inherent attributes like competence, confidence, and sociability. While helpful, traits alone don't guarantee results. Skills and situational fit are also important. In a functional approach, leadership is defined by what leaders do, encompassing task functions. For example, defining goals and setting agendas. And process functions, for example, encouraging and mediating. These functions can be shared by any group member. A styles approach categorizes leadership by habitual influence styles. For example, an authoritarian style that is directive, a democratic which is evolving, or a laissez-faire which is hands-off. The best fit depends on the context, such as a crisis for authoritarian or a collaboration for democratic. A situational approach emphasizes adapting leadership based on the specific context. In other words, it depends. This includes matching direction and support to member readiness, ability and motivation, task complexity, time pressure, and culture. In a transformational approach, leaders elevate their team by casting a compelling vision, challenging assumptions, coaching, and inspiring ownership. This approach often leads to higher cohesion, motivation, and initiative within the group. So to review, we have the trait, functional, styles, situational, and transformational approaches for leadership. What are the 3 steps to managing meeting structure? We have determining meeting goals, identifying discussion topics, and organizing an agenda. In determining meeting goals, we clearly define what needs to be accomplished, whether it's to inform, discuss, or make a decision. This sets the purpose for the entire meeting. In identifying and discussing topics, we list all the subjects that need to be covered to move closer to achieving our meeting goals. We ensure each topic contributes directly to the objective. And last, we have organizing the agenda. We arrange topics in logical order. We assign specific timeframes. We designate owners for each item and specify the decision-making method that should be used. So to review the 3 steps to managing meeting structure effectively, we determine the goals, identify discussion topics, and organize the agenda.